This is Jeff St Laurent. This is a live Tuesday call, and I'm pumped for today because I have my guest Lynn Coffey on the line, and I will bring her on in just a minute. But we are going to be doing a second call we've done. We've done one in the past, the Ultimate Website Guide, Do's and Don'ts, and today is the Ultimate Website Guide, facts and myths, whatever facts and myths are, but we'll be schooling you. Lynn is a fantastic website strategist. She's my go-to woman for all my clients. I'd recommend them for when it comes to helping them with their websites and design and all that good stuff. So she's a wealth of knowledge, so I'm happy to have her on. Before we get going, I bring Lynn on. I wanted to just go over a couple things. I always record these calls. They're available on my university on my website, sellingcoaching.com. So you can go to that website, and then right on the university, you'll have access to all those call recordings, as well as a lot of shorter ones as well, all focused on educating you coaches as I help you transition to a full-time business. It's what I do. It's how I assist people. So right on sellingcoaching.com, I also have a great guide there for you. It's the Ultimate Startup Guide for new coaches. So you can get that right on my homepage. And then lastly, right on my homepage at the top, I have a great private Facebook group. So if you want to check that out, consider joining. I'd love to have you a part of that. We just got over 1,100 coaches in there, and it's a great opportunity for us to interact on a deeper level, get to connect more, and then also I like to use that platform for helping coaches express themselves and getting their message out there. A lot of videos that we do and things like that. So definitely you deserve to at least check that out and see where it goes. And then lastly, before we get rolling, I am available for one-on-one mentoring, and also I do some group mentoring as well. So if you're in a position where you require some more guidance, or at least you feel like, I really want to do this full time, but I need some help, go to the Work With Me page on my website, fill out the form down at the bottom. We can create a relaxed conversation and kind of see where it goes. So with that being said, Lynn, you ready for this?
Yeah, let's do it.
All right. So, Lynn, just for those people that don't know you, I just told them a little bit about you, in the beginning, but just give us a snapshot of just kind of who you are as a person, because one of as I was, met you almost like about a half year ago, maybe a little bit more. Not only was I like, wow, she's like good at what she does, and I like her style, and thinking like, wow, she could be a great person. I have a lot of clients that could utilize you, but I also was really enamored with just who you are as a person, just what you value, who you represent, your character. So I just want people to have a quick snapshot of just who you are as a person before we get into your expertise as a website strategist.
Cool. Okay. So I think probably the thing you're referring to is the fact that I'm a foster mom, which is really cool. But I have right now 3 kids aged 3 and under. And so the process, they also came along really quickly, and we've had them, we've had 2 of the 3 since birth. And our other little guy we had when he came to us when he was 5.5 months old. But yeah, they're great kids, and I'm super, super lucky to, get to go on the trip with them, however long they're with us. So, so that's really what I value. I think that's the thing that's taught me the most lessons in life. Definitely taking that journey of parenting, but also foster parenting, which is a whole added dimension, if you will. So
absolutely, yeah.
So yeah, when I'm not working, I'm usually chasing kids around. Yeah.
And that adds so much richness to your life, right? It's crazy.
Yeah. It's it happened so quick. Like, I went from no kids to 3 kids. And I often sit around and I'm like, what did I do before kids? Like, it feels like a whole different life. But, so anyway, yeah, definitely they fill it up for sure.
Yeah, definitely. And I was impressed with just who you are as a person. So thanks for sharing some of that. And so as you talk, websites, part of my main reason for bringing you on here is because I interact with my clients, or just even coaches that aren't my clients that I interact with all the time. Websites are like this big ordeal, and I'll be honest too, like back before I didn't, my first websites as well, before I did one, it was just like, wow, it was a big freaking process, months of work, and as much as I'm paying, people thousands of dollars. I mean, ridiculous. My first website, like a while ago, back in '05, was like $5,000. Ridiculous. And I felt like I did all the work, even though they were building the site, you know? And so it can feel like this overwhelming, daunting task. And what I liked about, meeting you as well is realizing, like, well, it doesn't have to be this overwhelming, daunting task. So like I said, part of it is bringing you in is just helping them feel a little bit less overwhelmed with that process, And I feel like that if we're talking about, truths and myths, et cetera, like I feel like that it's a myth that it has to be like this overwhelming, daunting, and also long process. Can you talk about that a little bit to maybe help them, feel good about this?
Yeah, well, here's the thing, right? And maybe it's the best way to start the call out, but that's all right. We'll get over it. For most people, it is an overwhelming, daunting process. So I don't know that that's necessarily a myth. And the reason that that's the case is usually one of two reasons. One is that they go hire like a firm to build their site. And the firm just is, they just build websites. They're not specialized with anything. They just build, they can build a site for a restaurant. They can build a site for a charity organization. They can build a website for a coach. They're it doesn't matter who comes to them, they can build the site. So there's no real expertise or guiding you through the process because, right, they don't know what you need in terms of a website for your business. They literally just follow your lead. You say, I need 6 pages on my site. The pages should be, the home page, the about page, the contact page, a menu page, whatever the case is. And then they turn around and say, okay, well, we're going to charge you X amount of dollars for this. And then, like you just mentioned, Jeff, now we need everything from you, so send it to us.
Right.
And so you really are left alone trying to figure out exactly what information you should be supplying to them. And the sort of the concern that starts buzzing around is like, wait a minute, I thought I was paying these people to take care of, kind of leading me through this project. So for most people, it is overwhelming. And because there's no one really there's no expert leading you through the process, it takes a long time. And it becomes this thing that's like this other like huge headache on your to-do list. Like you'd rather just do other stuff, right? Like the website always tends to fall last because for most people, it's not their skill set. Like, coaching people, we can, do that all day long. That's what we love doing. That's the fun thing. But when it comes to sitting down and writing an about page, what do you write? How do you write it? Do you write it in third person or first person? Like all this stuff comes up. And so naturally we just want to avoid the stuff that we're not good at. And so that process of getting your content live takes a long time. So that's definitely the case. The other side of that, I said there were 2 camps, is in essence the same. It's that people try to build it themselves. And so going into that, at least they know they're the ones that have to supply all the information. So it's not like the shocker. And you're not paying somebody because you're doing it on your own. So, there's sort of that resentment sort of isn't building up there between you and this company. But what often happens that they don't anticipate is that they spend hours and hours looking through designs and themes and which one is the prettiest or which one is the most professional or and all of that time just simply spent looking at picture perfect designs will not translate into your business. In other words, if you purchase, let's say, a $49 theme or design and it's beautiful, when you actually load that thing into your hosting, add your logo, try to change it with your colors, add in your pictures, it's not going to look anything like that beautiful design that you originally saw. And so what ends up happening is the overwhelm of frustration is on like step 1. Like you can't even get it to look good. We're not even at the stage yet where we're talking about all the frustrations of how do you write an about page, for example. So yeah, your original layout of it's overwhelming, it's intimidating, and it often gets pushed to the end of the to-do list is pretty true. It's pretty accurate.
Right.
So I came up with a few different like myths and sort of the facts that we should be learning about. I don't know if you kind of have a list too that you wanted to
No, why don't you
peck
start off
through.
on that? That'd be great.
Okay, and so a lot of the things that I'll talk about here, I'm going to go through them. I'm not going to spend like 10 minutes on one myth. I'm going to go through them somewhat quickly, but feel free to like jump in and like add what your thoughts are, or conversation style is always way more fun. So and also a lot of the stuff I'm going to talk about will help people whether they're hiring a company to do it or if they're doing it themselves. So that's it was good that we kind of started with that one. Okay, so talking about beautiful design, here's a big myth. The first one is that beautiful design is best, or professional design is best. And that's actually a myth. And most webmasters will tell you that because what they're in essence selling you is the design. And so the more they can wow you with its beautifulness or all of its cool features, the more likely you are to go, yeah, like I want that for my business. But the fact is that design matters, but the thing about the design is not how it looks, it's how simple it is. And that's a big one for us entrepreneurs to sort of wrap our heads around. Because when it comes to like our business, we want everything to be, and the word changes depending on, if I'm talking to like a financial coach, they like the word professional. If I'm talking to like a general life coach, they tend to like the word pretty. So that's an example of how people are really saying the same thing. It just changes depending on their market. But the prettiness or the professionalness of the site definitely takes a back seat, and simplicity is what matters. And a really, really great way to illustrate that is if we look at Google homepage. There's just a search box. That's that's basically it. There's the Google logo and a search box. You enter your search term and you click search. There's really nothing else there. When they first, and it's very, it's very, the reason they did that is very specific. The more stuff that they add to that page, the more likely you are to get distracted. Even if it's stuff you're interested in, right? Like news stories, headlines, sports scores, entertainment news, whatever it is, it's more likely to distract you from the thing that they want you to do, which is important to follow here because you can then map it onto your business. So to us, right, like why does Google want us to search for something? Like, why do they care? But if you think about it, they need you to go to that search box, type in what it is you're looking for so that they can then deliver results to you. Now, again, you might be thinking, okay, well, who cares? So the reason that that's important is because Google does sponsored listings at the top and usually on the side of the search results. Those sponsored listings are businesses that are paying to show up when you search for that specific term. So if you don't go to Google and you don't put that search term in, then Google doesn't have an opportunity to deliver those sponsored results, or in other words, ads to you. Then they don't get paid from the businesses doing Google AdWords or their pay-per-click campaign. So I can talk about that forever, but I don't. I want to keep these myths and facts pretty short. Here's the takeaway from this. When people go to your website, as business owners, everything that we do, we just think is, which I already said, is like amazing. We want people to look at our logo and look at our testimonials and look at our facility and look at this and look at that and look at that. And look, we have sliders on our homepage and we have 4 videos, and we just want to show them everything. But the design doesn't matter as much as the simplicity. So when they get to your homepage, a simple design is always, always, always best. It can still look nice, but the function of it has to be as simple as possible. And so one of the ways that we talked about this in the other call, one of the ways I tell people to set up a homepage, have a small logo in the top left corner, have a simple navigation bar to the right of that logo. And what I mean by simple navigation bar is have the basic pages of the who, what, why, where, when. So a home page, a success stories page, services or work with me page, about page, and a contact page. And if you have like a blog or something, that's fine, but you don't want to overwhelm people by saying, look at all the stuff I have. Like navigation bars are like 3, 4 different drop downs. It's too confusing. So little logo, simple navigation bar. Under that, a really good headline. Under that, some sort of a welcome video or an image or something along those lines, something graphic oriented. And then some sort of call to action. And other than that, I wouldn't put much else on the home page. So anyway, simplicity matters. And so if we just think of Google, I think it's a pretty powerful lesson.
Lynn, I just say real quick, great example. I mean, we're talking, I don't know in size, but what, if not the largest platform that gets probably the most traffic of any site, right, in the world, right?
Right.
And it's true, you go there and there's a search bar and one button, right?
Exactly. And their competitors, so back in the day, right, like it's not like Google was the first to market. It's not like they were the first search engine. I mean, do you remember AOL and Lycos and Ask Jeeves? And there were other Yahoo, there were other MSN, there were other search engines that were really popular. But Google came along and realized, you know what? If you go to like Yahoo's homepage or something, you get all that, like, here's your news headlines, here's your sports scores, here's your weather, they still are doing that same thing. And it might serve as, people might have it as their homepage or something, like if they open up their computer and they open up like Firefox or Chrome or Internet Explorer, that might be the thing that pops up, which is fine. But when it comes to searching, we actually say the word, just go Google it. Like that's how popular it became, because they simply simplified the whole process of searching for something. So we don't even say, go to a search, like an internet search company. Like we don't even say that anymore. We just say, go Google that,
Yeah, it's a verb now, right?
It is, absolutely, yeah. So yeah, simplicity definitely matters there.
Awesome.
Okay, so the next myth, and this is a big one especially for coaches, is that sounding professional is the way to go. And so the fact is that sounding real and human is actually better. So even if you're in a position like something, a professional service, like a financial coach or something like that, there's sort of this concept that the more like professional we sound, the sort of more corporate, the more legit we seem as a business. And that's not actually the case when it is maybe if you're like a 500-person company, but I assume most people listening to this call, we're not in that bucket. Most of us, it's a one-person operation. We are trying to attract a certain target market. When they get to our websites, we're eventually hoping to sell them a service that will help them in their life or in their business. And so sounding sort of corporate and like bigger than we are is not necessarily going to be advantageous to you or your target market. So what do I mean by that? It's best illustrated by an about page, which I alluded to sort of at the beginning of the call. This stresses people out like crazy. So I can't tell you how many about pages I've looked at, and it'll say, I'll use myself as an example, okay? My about page does not sound anything like this. Lynn Coffee established her corporation, her New York corporation, back in 2003, and at the time was a single owner sole proprietor before she had made the switch. Her vision is to impact as many lots, blah, 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 blah. It's so boring, and nobody is going to read that. People don't care. But so many about pages talk about us, me, you as a business owner in third person. Whereas if the about page instead took a personal, real human view, if you just simply started talking in first person and changed the way that you, wrote your copy so that it sounded like something that was, you'd say to a friend, people will read that more. So it's basic sales copy, right? Or it's basic direct marketing. It's basic relationship marketing. When you try to sound corporate and boring and stuffy, it's hard to connect with people. And when we're the size of businesses that we are and we're selling services like coaching, it's of the utmost importance that we actually connect with people who are coming to our website. So it's hard to do that when we sound like, Lynn Coffey established her corporation back in blah, 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 blah. Nobody cares about that.
Right.
Now, on the flip side, sounding real is best, but they also don't care about my high school basketball career. So what is it that we should talk about on the About page? So I'll use myself as an example because it's a real-world example, and then you can map it onto your business. So on my About page, which, by the way, I call my story because I want it to even be more personal than about. So if you click on my story, it's a really long page, and I basically make the connection of how learning how to use a website took me from point A to point B in my business and therefore my life. So the way I grew up was sort of this crazy, chaotic childhood, low-income living, Section 8 housing, guns pointed at me, just crazy, crazy childhood. Fast forward to before I got my 3 kids, I was traveling the world, and I'd been to tons and tons of different countries, and was able to buy my house outright, all of this stuff, which does not add up for most people of having the childhood that I had. But so what I do is I talk about that childhood. I show pictures of it. I show both of my parents. They had me when they were teenagers. My mom was 16 when she had me. I showed their wedding picture. I had to have a half body cast when I was a baby. I show a picture of that just because it's weird and I want to see that. So I share that personal stuff, but throughout the copy, I connect people to how once I figured out how to use a website to grow my business, my life went from this crazy, low-income living situation to going through the process of starting a company, growing a company, and moving that into a point where it literally changed my lifestyle. So the big lesson here from this sort of myth and fact is you need to talk to people in a way that connects with them, but you have to talk about the service and how your service has impacted you personally. So if you're a health coach, for example, and you used to struggle big time with, let's just say, IBS. What you want to do is share your journey of how, IBS impacted your life, so point A, and then to point B, which is now you feel much better, you're cured, whatever the words are you're using, but how your system or the method that you've now, that you're now selling, how that has moved you from point A to point B. Does that make sense?
Absolutely, yeah. And at the end of the day, it's you're being personal with somebody. You're connecting with them, and it's not this. Especially of us as coaches, it's not corporate. It's not. We're professionals, but it doesn't mean we have to have that. It's that stuffy type of disconnected text where it's just let them know who we are as a person. Kind of like I opened the call for you. Is tell us who you are as a person. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Absolutely. Yeah, that's fantastic, Lynn.
And it's that, see, this is the part that, when we take business classes or business courses or whatever, that we always tend to gloss over. It's always about, you need to have a website, and you need to have an opt-in, and you need to drive traffic, and all these business terms. And they're all true, right? Yes, we do need to do all of those things. And I'll talk about some of them more later in terms of the myths and facts, but none of that stuff matters if we forget that the way that we grow a business is by connecting with people, like you just said, particularly coaches. If we miss that sort of foundational piece, then everything we do is going to be that much more difficult. So if we spend $100 in ads and, Facebook ads, and we're sending people to our website, if that website doesn't connect with people, if it's too complicated, if it's too wordy, if it's too whatever, then you're going to have less conversions or less opt-ins than if your website was just done in a way that connected with people. And now, at the end of the day, we're in business. And so that term conversion, it's really important because without that, we're not in business. So The stuff I'm talking about is sort of, you can learn about conversions and all that stuff, pretty much anywhere these days. But if you spend $100, if I had $100 to spend, I would definitely want to send it to a website that was more personal and real and simple than one that was corporate and had cool stuff on it, like spiders and all this, flashing design and all of that stuff, because my conversion will be better on a simple, personal website. That's a really important thing to understand in the overall strategy of building a business.
This is great, Lynn. Keep going. Let's go to the next one.
Okay.
I want to hear more.
Okay, so the next one is so that we believe that websites are sort of becoming less important. Social media is kind of taking over, and it's really you have to be on Facebook, and we have to have these social accounts. So that's actually a myth. And the fact is that websites are actually becoming more important than ever. Now, that's not to say social media is not important, because it is, but the biggest example I give people here is, do you remember like the AOL profile or places like MySpace? They were super, 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 super popular, but just like with everything else, companies come and go and new ones pop up. So right now, Facebook is really popular. Of course, there's other ones, Instagram, Pinterest. There's lots of different ones that people might use depending on what type of coach you are. But what we don't want to do is start to put all of our sort of eggs in one basket. And so there's been this trend of business owners who are sort of going, well, I don't really need a website. I'll just have a Facebook page or a Facebook group. And that's really dangerous, because at some point, Facebook will start to change the rules. Actually, they change the rules all the time. Depending on how long you've been in business, you used to know that you could have a profile for your business, right? So just like you have one for your personal account, like who you are, like I have a personal one for Lynn Coffee, you would have a profile for your business. Then Facebook was like, you can't do that. You need to have a page. So then they started banning and deleting all of these profiles for businesses. Not a big deal. People just set up a page. And whenever you posted to your page, it would show up in people's timelines. Not a big deal, right? Well, now Facebook's like, hey, hold on. Like, all of these businesses are getting free leads and they're making money off of our platform. So we're going to restrict how often you show up in people's timelines, right, or on their wall. So when they're looking at Facebook and they're scrolling, even if they've liked your page, chances are they're not going to see your update on their wall. So as business owners, we go, what the heck? Why are you doing this? I'm following all the rules. But Facebook owns everything, so they get to make the rules and change them when they want. So then Facebook was like, well, we're going to limit how you can basically, how often you can be in front of people, because we want you to start buying ads. And now everybody's buying Facebook ads because that's what you have to do to get in front of people. But even now with Facebook ads, they're making the rules tighter. You can say this, you can't say that. You can't do this claim, you can do that claim. And so to put all of your eggs in one basket, even with a popular company like Facebook, is really dangerous, because as I just showed you, in that quick 1 to 2 minute, little chat I just had, they can change the rules at any time. And they can also go out of business at any time. I think it's important to sort of step back and remember that. There have been many, many big companies, Jamesway, Kmart, huge companies that are there 1 minute and then they're gone the next, especially in technology. So the fact is that websites are becoming more important than ever, because you own that real estate. You own that domain. You own your email address. You own your copy. You get to decide what your site looks like. You get to decide what opt-in you're putting up. There are no rules. It's just yours. And that's really, really, really important when it comes to growing a business. You just don't want to put everything in one basket. So, make sense so far?
Fantastic, Lynn. I always tell people, the primary thing is you've got to own, like, the email list, right? We want to subscribe to the email list because you own that, versus, Facebook group. It's great to have one, but it's exactly what I say. At any time, that could change, and next thing you know, it's gone, and then what do you do? So
right.
Excellent stuff.
Absolutely.
Yep.
Absolutely. And the other thing too, this is actually, I'll use another example. So part of my job is taking tons of courses that are out there. I mean, partly to figure out, to increase my knowledge base. And I always pick up one or two nuggets that I can apply and that work well, and then I share that information with my clients. And so anyway, there's this big Facebook ad guru. There's tons of them out there, by the way. It's like the newest trend. Everybody's a Facebook guru. They take a course, and now they're the guru. But this particular person just kept touting, you don't need a website, you don't need a website, you don't need a website. And all he talked about was ClickFunnels. And by the way, he was an affiliate for ClickFunnels, so he had a reason in saying that, so he was making lots and lots of money by saying that. But the ironic thing was that in order to basically get, I forget what he was offering, but in order to get like whatever he was offering, whatever at the time, you had to go to his website. You didn't go to Facebook, you didn't do anything, you had to go to his actual website where you then opted in, and what you just said, Jeff, you are now on his email list, which is the goal for us as business owners. But it was just so interesting that, here's this guy basically shouting from the rooftops over and over and over again, that websites are important, you don't need it, but yet in order to get what he, was selling or offering at the time, you had to go to the website.
Yep. and I see that all the time. I'll see coaches out there too that are like, oh, you don't need a niche, because coaches have such a hard time coming up with a niche. So he's like, I think he's just playing off of that. And then you go to his site, and he's like uber niched. He couldn't be more niched than anybody. And I'm like, how can you not say you don't need to be niched when that's all you are? You know what I mean?
Yes.
So I agree. Yeah, I agree 100%. Yeah, it's just walking the walk and talking. Doing seeing what's out there.
Yeah. So social media is definitely important, and I use it a lot. But it's not. It doesn't dominate. It doesn't replace the website. The website is yours. You own it. It's the most important, one of the most important assets in your business, which I'll talk about a little bit later. And the website is actually the thing that creates the authority or the expertise. Really hard to do that, on Facebook, to, showcase your testimonials and the results that you're getting for people. It's hard to do that. And the other thing that people talk about, and then I'll move on, but social media, like I said, is important, but what if you do get on somebody's timeline or their Facebook walls, they're scrolling, that's great, but the moment they scroll past your update or your ad or whatever, they're gone. They're not, it's rare that we scroll backwards, so if you have this really short attention or this really short time to capture their attention, which is a whole other conversation, whereas with the website, it's unlimited space. So again, I guess my point, I'm not being clear. My point is, if you get in front of them on Facebook, great. But you really only have a little bit of space, right? A status update, an image, maybe a video, to capture and hook them. Once they consume that info, they're gone, right? They're scrolling on. Whereas if you can get your website in front of the person, you can keep their attention more. You can provide them with articles that help them out in the area, whatever area they're looking for help in. You can share with your story that connects with them emotionally. You can show a welcome video. So you're not limited to a status update. That's kind of what my point is there. So websites definitely help add to your authority. Okay, so the next myth is a big one, and it's the idea that if you build a website, people will see it. And in web design world, there are two sides. And one side I talk about, they just sell you this beautiful design, right? It's so pretty, it's so professional, like buy our design. But the other side of it is where people will promise all of these results. Like, well, if you get this design, then you'll make thousands and thousands of dollars in sales. And sort of this mentality of if you build it, they will come. That's the myth. The fact is that a site is just a website. It's only sitting there, and the only way people will see it is if you drive traffic to it. So this is a big one that not a lot of people, particularly webmasters, want to talk about because it kind of points out a problem. And it's easier to let people believe if they build it, people will see it. But a website, so we're taking this 30,000-foot view, a website is just one piece of your overall marketing strategy, right? So if you take out advertising in a local magazine, for example, you're doing that because you want people who read that magazine to see your advertisement. You're trying to get eyeballs on your advertisement. A website, in a way, is kind of like an advertisement. It's there, but we still need to get eyeballs to look at it. So know going in that if you build a site, that's great. It has to be simple. It has to be personal. All of these things we talked about. But you still have to drive traffic to it. Which, P.S., once your business is up and running, our jobs basically become coaching the clients, assuming that's what most of us do. That's our job, like doing the actual service that we provide. But then other than that, it's marketing. And marketing looks lots of different ways, but your job basically becomes providing the service and then figuring out how to get your business in front of people that matter.
Can I just say amen?
Yeah. Yeah. You know what?
Really,
yeah, go ahead.
Well, no, it's just this is why I love you as this website strategist, because what you said from the beginning of the call is, web designers, like, they can make a pretty site. You can make a great pretty site too, but the point is that you need to understand the mechanics of it as a marketing tool. And it's like, once it's there, it's like, we've got to drive traffic. Like, that's our job, is to drive traffic. Mm-hmm. Yeah, I'm re-saying the same thing you did, but that's such a big point. So go ahead.
It's huge. And that leads into my next myth, right? Well, the more people that look at my website, the better. And so you'll see lots of things on websites like Fiverr, for example, where I'll get you 1,000, I'll get you 1,000 visitors to your website for $5, or I'll get you 1,000 likes on your Facebook page, or I'll retweet your tweet to like my 50,000 fans, or you'll see these things, right? And at first it's like, oh my gosh, yes, like I totally, even if they charge me $100, I totally want that person to get my stuff in front of 1,000 people or whatever the case would be. And you often hear this come up when business owners will say to me, oh, well, I've had, last month I had 1,000 hits on my website. But we don't really know what that means. And so the myth is that more eyeballs, the better, right? It just equals more good stuff. But that's actually not true at all. And what we miss is that those eyeballs have to be targeted. They have to be people that are looking for the solution that our service provides. Otherwise, it doesn't matter. If you think about when you sit down and if you're watching TV, for example, 99% of the commercials, they don't capture our attention. They don't matter to us. It's because we're not actively looking for that solution. However, if you're sitting on this happened to me actually a few months ago. My car lease was up. We see car commercials all the time. I could care less. I don't know what one car is from the other. I don't care about pricing. I don't know what's cheap. I don't know what's expensive. I mean, I do, but my point is the last time I bought a car was like 10 years ago, and I know prices have changed. So I'm out of date with prices. I'll say it that way. Anyway, however, a few months ago, my lease was up on my second car, and guess what? All of these car commercials are on, and I started to pay attention to, okay, and I wanted to lease again, so I started looking at, okay, this one is that cost for the lease, and okay, there's the fine print. It says I have this much money down, and I compare it. And I ended up going with a company who I saw a commercial for them. It was Honda. It's not a big deal, but because I saw a Honda commercial that I had the information I was looking for at the right time that I was looking, I went and purchased with them. So the point is this. We have to get our services in front of people who are actively looking for our solution. Otherwise, it's sort of a waste. It's why small businesses can't do advertising on TV or something like that, because it's just this mass blast, and it's mostly not targeted. In other words, the only people you see doing stuff on TV are huge, huge companies that basically have this almost unlimited advertising budget where they can just blast people at all times. Make sense?
Absolutely. Absolutely.
Okay, so moving on here, so I'm going to see if I can get through all of these.
Yeah.
Here's another one. It has to do with websites, but it also has to do with sort of marketing. The myth is that being ranked number one at Google is like game-changing. Like if you can just get to number one, you're good to go. And the reason I put this on the list is because a lot of times now these webmaster companies are sort of getting smart, and they're sort of saying, oh, well, we should bundle our web design services with some marketing services, and we'll promise people, like we'll get them, like I said earlier, X amount of likes, or we'll get them to the number one spot, and they do. However, I can't tell you how many people I talked with just this calendar year of people saying, well, I have my website and such company did it, and I'm ranked number one at Google, but I'm not seeing any results. I'm not, I have a nice site, like that's not the problem. And so once I start digging in a little bit, and it's like, okay, what are you're saying you're not ranked number one at Google, like what's the term that you're ranking for? And they'll say something like, weight loss expert for women in, tiny town Kansas. And it's like this really obscure keyword that people wouldn't really go to Google and search for anyway, right? Like if we go to Google, we're searching for like life coach in, whatever town or city that you're in, or financial services for retirees, or, nutrition coach for bodybuilders. We're very specific, right? But we're not like micro specific. We're not like searching for like pink fuzzy bunny slippers made by USA manufacturers in Georgia that only sell in half sizes. Like that's not our Google search term. That's obviously, I'm using this extreme example, but these big companies will say to you, we'll get you to rank number one. What they don't say is that you're ranking for a keyword that nobody's searching for. And so I guess the lesson here is what you want to spend your time on and what you want to spend your money on are things that will yield results for your business. So you can do search engine optimization, or SEO, and you can try to rank number one at Google. That's not a bad thing, but you want to make sure that you're ranking for keywords people are actually searching for. Now, there's lots of ways you can do that. There are tools that will tell you, what people are searching for, and that's definitely outside of the scope of this conversation. But it's important to know that simply ranking number one at Google doesn't necessarily mean a flood of people are going to be looking at your website. So just kind of know that going into it. Okay. Unless you have anything to say there, Jeff, I'm going to keep on going.
No, keep going. Yeah, I want to get the stuff in. Yep.
Perfect. Okay, here's another one. You sort of alluded to this earlier, but websites are expensive. That's not necessarily a myth because they can get pricey. But I'm actually, and I talked about that earlier, so I'm not going to reiterate everything I talked about. What I'm doing is going to take a different angle with this one. We have to start looking at certain things in our business as, to use an accounting term, as a cost of business, right? If we have like an office space, we don't sit there and go, oh my goodness, I can't believe I have to pay $500 a month, $1,000, whatever it is for your area. I'm just not seeing a return on investment from this thing. We don't look at our leases that way. It's just a cost of doing business. We don't look at our internet as like this expense, if you will. We look at it as simply a cost of business. In order to be in business, we need an office space. Some of us, not all of us, just work with me here on the on the example. A cost of doing business is we simply need internet service. So another popular one that people automatically assume is a business card. Like nobody's sitting there going, I have these business cards and they cost me, $50 or $100, and I'm not seeing a return. it's just a cost of business, right? Some things just simply are. We have to look at a website as a cost of business. Now, with that being said, when we look at it, even if it wasn't a cost of business, if we look at it in terms of, well, I need to see a return on this. So I'm kind of sort of stalling here because I'm not sure where everybody on the call is in terms of sort of business lingo, but then also understanding the difference between sort of an asset and a liability. So I'll back up for a second and just say this. When we pay money for advertising, if we're putting out $100 in Facebook ad spend, the goal is to eventually make that $100 up. Most people will say, if I put out $100, I need to make back at least $101. I need that to be done in a week or something like that. I take it a little bit further than that because unless you're really selling like T-shirts or coffee mugs, it's kind of hard to put out ad spend and then immediately see a result. When you sell a service, there's a little bit of a longer sales process. Like you mentioned earlier, and I use this word a lot too, people have to know, like, and trust you. That process is a process. It takes a little time. So let me stay on track here. If you spend money on advertising, the goal is to see a return on your investment. And so a lot of people look at a website and they say, well, if I'm going to spend this much money every month, I need to see a return on the investment. But it's difficult to calculate a return on a website, and here's why. For most of us, it is our storefront. Especially if you're an online business, it is your storefront. So it's basically like your lease. The cost of your website is your lease cost. We don't think of lease cost in terms of ROI. It's oftentimes the first thing people will see, whether you're an online or offline business, that starts to develop that know, like, and trust relationship. So people could actually look at your website many times even, and then maybe a month, maybe an hour from now, maybe 2 minutes from now, maybe a year from now, they'll decide to pick up the phone and call you. Or if you have a facility, if you have an actual office location that people stop in, for example, maybe you have your coaching office inside of, like I'm thinking of like a health coach. Maybe your coaching office is inside of a fitness facility where you sort of are in the mix of targeted people walking by, and someone might simply knock on the door and say, hey, I've been thinking about stopping by, checking out what you do. It's difficult to figure out, did that person visit the website and were they moved to take action from the website? Because it's difficult to figure that out, it's unfair to put websites in the same category as, for example, Facebook ads, where there's charts and you can actually calculate ROI. In other words, you can actually calculate, I spent $100, how much money did I make back from this? So websites can be expensive, as I mentioned earlier, in terms of spending multiple thousands of dollars, or even if there's an ongoing monthly retainer. But we need to make sure that we're looking at websites as an actual asset to growing the business, to developing a relationship with the business, as compared to necessarily like a liability or like a marketing expense such as Facebook ads. Does that make sense? Did I lose?
No, that was great. It's another way of looking at it in terms of, if I'm investing money in my business, there's money that we spend for our business that, it's a marketing avenue where it's like I expect a return on it. And and a website, it's just like, it's something you got to do for your business. You just got to buy it, and it's really hard to calculate what is the actual return on it, if anything. You know what I mean? But it's something that it's an asset for us. Absolutely. So, right. Yeah, okay, it's something that's going to add value to our business. Absolutely. And it's a good frame of mind because whatever it is, I don't think anything's cheap from a perspective. If you're going to get something good, there's reasonable and then there's ridiculous, right?
Right.
From what you're getting. But either way, whatever you're investing in it's something that you've got to do. It's just something you've got to do. And a lot of coaches, they get to that spot and it's like, well, if you're going to be doing business, I don't care what your financial situation is like, it's something that it's, like I said, an asset for your business. So you've got to pony up and get it done,
Yeah, and when we look at it in terms, if we do look over into sort of like the marketing expense category, which I think, as you mentioned, is a no-no, it's just not the right mindset for websites. But even if we do that, when you look at the cost of running, a 2-inch by 4-inch advertisement in a local newspaper or a local magazine, where you literally have, just a small space to put in who you are, who you serve, what your offer is, and a call to action that people are going to see one time, as they flip through that local magazine, for example, if you're a local coach, that's several $100s. And you're competing with all of these other, an interesting, juicy article that the magazine wants you to read and all these other advertisers. So your advertisement is just sort of sitting there, and the cost for that is quite expensive. Whereas, same thing with Facebook ads. They don't have to be expensive, but again, you have all these rules you have to follow, things you can do, can't do, and you're paying for it. So you only have so much space that you can work with. Whereas a website, it's literally, it's completely inexpensive when you compare it to traditional forms of marketing. So whatever way you look at a website, the correct mindset is it's a cost of business, and compared to traditional forms of marketing, or even non-traditional forms, it takes the least amount of time and the least amount of expense. And that's how you know that you're doing the website the right way. Okay.
So let me ask you this. For the sake of time, we get about 6 minutes.
Okay.
So maybe like one thought or one more thing to wrap it up. It's kind of like where you want to go with it. Yeah.
Sure. Yeah. Well, you know what? I'll end with this. It's my last myth, and I'll make it quick. That I think there's a myth that we have to be sort of outgoing on websites, right? Like if we're going to be personal, we have to be outgoing and vivacious, and we have to be amazing on video. And if that's who we are, great. But especially if you get into certain types of coaching, like I mentioned, financial coaches, there's more of a professional tone there. If you, for example, had a welcome video where you're in a clown suit and, you're honking your horn and you're trying to get people to sign up for your financial services, it's a mismatch. My point is, the actual fact is you don't have to be anything but who you are on your website. And that's really important because who you are, what your vibe is, will attract the right tribe, right? So your vibe will attract the right tribe. And that's really important because as you go through learning about marketing and things like that, I've noticed over time that there's sort of this trend of people trying to tell you how to be. Like, you have to do this, you have to do this, you have to do it this way. But what happens is it doesn't feel right, it feels forced, then everything that you do will be sort of watered down, and it won't be as powerful, it won't connect with your target market as much as you want it to. So the fact here is that whoever you are, even if you're quiet and you're more of a, an empath and you're just a really good listener, those skills, be that on the website. You can do that through copy, and you can even do that through video. But those skills are going to be what connect to the people watching your video. And just to give an example, and then I'll wrap up, I like to use fitness here. If you are an outgoing, loud, yelling drill instructor, you run a boot camp, you're like a fitness coach in that, and you're just like, drop and give me 20, let's go, come on, you got more, one more, you stink at this. If that's truly who you are, do it, go for it. People will be attracted to that type of workout, that type of atmosphere. It fuels them. It gives them energy. That's what they're looking for. But also know that there's also the other side of that, where you could just be, you know what, we're going to work out, but as we work out, we're going to set intentions, and we're going to write down goals, and we're going to, yes, we're doing food journaling, but we're also going to be doing a little bit of life coaching involved here. It's not just about dropping and giving me 20, it's about the whole life, it's a holistic approach to health. Two totally different atmospheres, two totally different energies, but the beautiful part is there will be people attracted to both. So the point is, whoever you are, be that on your website. There's no right or wrong way to be. Just be who you are, and it will attract the right people. Okay, I'll end it on that.
That was awesome, Lynn. And it's so true. At the end of the day, it just be yourself, and it's like whether you do a video or as a picture or whatever you write, it's just like find who you are and express that, and that's what people are going to be attracted to, and from a marketing sense, with whatever we're doing for marketing. So, Lynn, I so much appreciate everything you do, your time, your expertise. I know in my Facebook group you post some great website tips and strategies on there as well on a fairly regular basis. And if someone wants to get a hold of you I know you do like free website reviews and things like that. I know I'll post a link in with the call and everything as well, but do you want to just give it to them now on the phone as well so they have it?
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, I love talking about this stuff. So if you have, questions about anything I mentioned here, or, just a question in general about websites or online marketing or presence around sort of, who you are online, feel free to check out my website. It's lynncoffey.com, LYNNCOFFEY.com. There's lots of really good stuff on there. There's freebies on there. You can take a look at my site, and you'll see that I actually put into practice everything I talked about here. That's how I know what works. Also how I know what doesn't work, by the way. But yeah, just take a look at that. Use it as a template. Dig into it. Use it as a research tool. You can connect with me right through my website. I have a live chat button. You can contact me through my contact form. Any way you want to do it is fine with me. But basically, I try to help you out, just kind of like what Jeff said earlier. Wherever you are, if you just have a question, you're looking for a quick answer, I'll do my best to help out. If you want me to take a look at your website and kind of give you some pointers on, hey, I would change this, I would do that, I can definitely do that for you. If you're looking for somebody to build a website, I can definitely do that for you too. So yeah, reach out, let me know. We'll have a conversation, and my goal is that you leave the conversation with at least a path to move forward from. So that's always my goal.
Awesome, Lynn. Thank you for your generosity, your time, and your expertise as well. I would always love listening to what you talk about too, because as I go back to it all, at the end of the day, it all goes back to like what I teach, the selling aspects of it, right? It's all selling, and it's finding an authentic way to do it.